After 700 meters, go straight on.
You heard it.
Every word.
Just two blokes sharing a joke in the car.
So here I am with a man from the Soviet External Relations branch and a man from BRIXMIS in the same vehicle together going around Potsdam.
But from 1985 until 1989, Dave Butler and Sergei Savchenko were on opposite sides of the Iron Curtain. Dave ran missions into communist East Germany to spy on Soviet forces stationed there, and Sergei worked for SERB, the Soviet agency responsible for keeping tabs on BRIXMIS.
This particular gate, it used to be electrical. Let me show you.
Today, the old enemies are revisiting old haunts.
Because these are all,
Oh, I see.
these
Yeah,
are all
it's a roller gate.
Soviet constructions, I'm telling you. We built them. Normally, the visitors to us, chiefs of the missions, they came and they entered through the front door,
Yeah.
and they went to the second floor. On the second floor, we had a big table,
Yeah.
and we had only two windows. These two windows that you can see, actually. And normally, we were sitting, or they were seated against the windows, so that the light from the windows would be coming on them, and we were sitting with our backs to the window. Sort of, our faces were not really as, what do you call it, as expressive as theirs,
Yeah.
but you could see every little movement
So it was
of any
it was
muscle of the face of
So
the...
it was unintentionally, so you could
It
read
was-
the body
it was
language.
intentional, yes.
This is the final step before entering the DDR, the Glinica Bridge.
A BRIXMIS film training video introducing the famous Glinica Bridge, the original Bridge of Spies, where Cold War prisoners were once exchanged. This small steel structure links Berlin with Potsdam and spanned the front line of the Cold War for 4 decades. In those dark times, East and West Germany were entirely separate entities. 140 people were killed or committed suicide trying to escape the communist East. Today, these two retired spies are here for a conversation which would have been impossible 30 years ago.
Did BRIXMIS really give you a major headache when we
Oh, in
were
that
operating?
sense. Well, I would only say that the least problems that they had were from the French.
Right, okay.
They
That's
were
very-
the quietest.
Oh, really? You know, I brought out the explosive reactive armour box that we recovered from a T-80. Was that, I don't know if that's a surprise now, but I mean, at the time, did you get any intelligence to suggest that that had actually happened? Did you know how important it was to the West at that time?
Well, of course I could understand how important it was to the West, but the thing is that they did not always report to us such incidents.
Right.
It only when they got your fingers in the tail, in this case, yes.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it didn't work this way.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's really interesting because, you know, we always like to think that we were able to remove things without...
I tell you more, when we removed it from the tank, it is not a fact that they reported it.
And is that just because
the
that's a Soviet mentality?
punishment for losing that would be very strict on them too. So they probably pretended that it never disappeared. There was no incentive
Yeah.
because the punishment really could be quite harsh.
Yes, quite.
And they didn't want to take it.
Yeah. I mean, was there anything else that you were aware of that we were
Well,
doing?
some of the, I have hundreds of episodes.
Yeah.
Some of them are absolutely anecdotal.
Yeah.
Like there was an American vehicle that stopped for a while. The doors were open, and the soldiers could see that the American vehicle was about 200 meters from them. Actually, one of the soldiers said, "Comrade Lieutenant, why don't you fire at these guys?" He says, "I don't have any ammo." He says, "Well, I have some. And he gave him a handful of cartridges. He loaded his gun and he had to shoot. And he did shoot at a distance of 200 meters, and he hit it 5 times.
The American vehicle?
Yes, he hit the vehicle 5 times.
Wow.
When I was investigating that, you know what he said to me? Yes, there was a vehicle, and I fired several times in the direction of that vehicle without taking aim.
And which version of the story did you believe?
Well, I believe that 5 bullets were landed in the vehicle, and at 200 meters, shooting in the direction of that vehicle hit
And what
me.
did the American general?
There was a protest.
I bet
There was a protest, of course.
Yeah.
And we had to actually acknowledge that it was unlawful.
Yeah.
And we pledged to take measures that it should never happen again.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
Getting out the tank, wait.
Reculez, 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 vite, 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 reculez, reculez. Démerdez-vous, 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 reculez, reculez, bordel.
But there were times when the Soviets and the East German police crossed the line. 2 men were killed working for the foreign missions. French officer Philippe Mariotti was rammed off the road by a Stasi vehicle in the city of Halle. And a year later, in 1985, US Major Arthur Nick Nicholson was shot dead by a Soviet sentry.
Essentially, Nick went to, a place that was a routine place to go, and he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He, went to a training area that was pretty routine. I mean, it was something that people did every single day, as the Russians did the same, Soviets. And the guard was nervous, a kid, and, didn't know what the heck he was doing, and that's the result.
Stephen Hoyt worked closely with Major Nicholson in the US mission before he was killed.
It's even worse when you know the person personally, know their family, know their daughter, their dog, the whole bit. It's like...
When Nicholson was killed in March 1985, it was much too serious an incident to be brushed under the carpet. And in fact, it was the first crisis that Mr. Gorbachev had to face. He'd become the head of the Soviet Union only a week or so before, and suddenly on his plate was a Soviet soldier having killed an American officer.
At the time, the Soviet Union denounced Major Nicholson for trespassing and ignoring warnings. But today, Sergei Savchenko says that wasn't true.
The soldier himself was not adequately or duly instructed as to how to behave in that situation. And he was kind of trigger happy on the one hand, and he actually didn't know what to do. He was excited, he was frightened, and I don't know, he acted out of whatever what.
Because responsibility for guarding military assets went directly to the top, there was also an incentive for the Soviet Union to make it look like Major Nicholson had been at fault.
This created the other attitude as to there was an actual transgressor who ignored all the signs, he ignored the barbed wire, who, I don't know, penetrated, acted aggressively, and he was warned, but he sort of ignored the warning, and he was shot, and all this kind of stuff, which was certainly not true.
So a bit of a cover-up.
It was kind of, yeah, because they had to cover up the chief of staff.
Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, or why not check out the rest of the BRIXMIS series.